Let's see what we got. All right. I'm using StreamYard now instead of the OBS. So we'll see if this works any better. Let's see if I can bring up the chat though. See what this gives me. Pop this out. All right. I think that might just do it. Let's bring that popped out chat over here. I wonder why I can't see. Let me see comments. There we go. Right on. Okay. All right, I got this. All right, let me bring Prof back in. Let's see if we can at least get something accomplished today. Is this better? I mean, is it lagging or anything? Let me know before I don't want to bring Prof in if it's going to be all jacked up. So if you guys could please just let me know how it looks, how it sounds. It is good. Sounds great. Right on. Thank you guys. Let me get Prof in here. God, he's got the patience of Job, too, putting up with my shit with this. I don't know what happened with OBS. OBS is usually damn good. I don't know what's going on. I tried to update it. It wasn't update, you know. But we'll see. I just can't do as much with this as I can with OBS. Hey, bud, you there?
Oh yeah, we back?
Yeah, I'm on StreamYard now.
Say it again.
I'm on StreamYard.
I think you're mispronouncing that.
StreamYard.
There you go.
Yeah. Fuck you. But so this is working. So it's the OBS. OBS is just being a pain in the balls. But that's what you get. But this is the free version. I'm going to use Ecamm when end of day when I go to whatever service I want to use. But yeah, here you go, Pitbull. I'm pouring one for myself. I might need a shot after all this bullshit. All right.
Oh yeah, round two.
Round four, about. Jesus. It's a hot mess. All right, so I remember we were talking about the Kleins and their interaction with all of this and how I see it playing out and what I think's happening. Grizz, what up? What up? Patricia, Lisa, Four Pits, Karen Bentley, Kate List, Kelly Miller. You guys are the bomb for coming back. I appreciate it. I may not have. If I was in the same boat as you guys, I just would have went outside and drank beer and told some lies. But something to say. What's going on, babe? Now, so we got to the part where they searched Keegan's house, right? And he hadn't been arrested yet. We all know what my thoughts are on that. They were using his accounts and keeping an eye on him, and also his dad. You know. No, I'm not a lightweight. Something to say. You believe that? Something to say. Something. I'm Irish. I'm Irish. Are you kidding me? I'm not a lightweight. I mean, it's hard for me to move my arm. Oh, I can't even. You can't even see it because of this. There we go. You can see it a little bit. 100% Mick, and that's a curse. I'm not bragging. That's a curse. No doubt about that. But let's get back to this. Um, hey, Don. Yeah, I switched to StreamYard. StreamYard. Sorry. The OBS was acting up, so I'm gonna go to Ecamm. It's made specifically for Mac, and I use Mac everything. So, and you guys can hear Prof. Okay? Talk for a minute, would you, Prof?
Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing.
That's so gay to say that. Testing. What's next? Check. You gonna say check, check,
Do,
check, check?
do you know how many times in my life I had to go through that routine?
Yeah, I feel you. I
Oh
hated
my
sound
God.
checks. Sound checks sucked. Especially when you're in a band where everybody, as soon as you start playing, they just go over and they don't put their amps on 10 to start with. So you do the sound check, and the sound man actually has control of the band. Well, then as soon as they start playing, they go crank that son of a bitch up to 10. Now the sound man has no control, and it sounds like shit. But all right, everybody can hear you good. So there we go. Now, what are your thoughts on that? I just don't want to ramble on and on and on. What do you think happened? Why did they get on to Keegan Klein and the such? Why did they search his house, get a search warrant, and all that? Because they had just kicked in Ron Logan's door, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with. I think you pretty much got the short version of it.
Well, elaborate a little bit. If you think there's something else to it,
Well,
elaborate.
no, I don't think there's much more to it. I think that they were looking for Anthony shots, and they determined it was Klein's, and then they got a sting going,
Hmm.
and then
Now, see, right off the bat, right when I first started looking at all this, to me it was obvious, but I mean, to some people, it's obviously not obvious, right? Um, these are young teenage girls. They use a lot of social media, right? And they use a lot of these chat programs and stuff like that. Why do you think they got on to Anthony Shots? Why do you think they were concerned about what they saw? Because I'm sure that they talked to hundreds, at least hundreds of people. What made them go ding 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 with the Anthony Shots account, that they wanted to follow up with that and find out who had that? What do you think caused that? And go ahead and talk for a second. I'm gonna shut this door real quick.
okay. Well, I think firstly, it was probably the nature of the material or the texting or both. The nature of what the conversation was and the communication. And then that could have included that maybe there was a prior attempt to meet. And so, that pushed him right up to the top of anyone else they were communicating with. Either one of those or both, or a combination of both.
Right. So I mean, that right away hit to me. It's like that they were talking to all kinds of different people, and what made that float to the top. And it's like you said, the verbiage, the conversation, the images that were going back and forth, and all of that. Hey, Miss Thing. So all of that led law enforcement to believe, hey, we need to find out who this cat is right away. I mean, as soon as they did the phone dump on that thing, they saw that, and they're all over it. They were all over it. Now, at first, the FBI was on Ron Logan, right? They got a warrant to go in and search his property. Now, do you think that's because of the proximity of the crime, or do you think that they had some more information? What do you think?
I think it's probably a result of the evidence at the scene.
Okay.
I would assume.
Okay.
Like, okay, whether or not it was Ron Logan involved at all, So let's just take him out of the picture and just, if his property was involved, and maybe there was evidence of footprints leading his direction of the house, or chemical agents that might have been involved that might have come off his property. It might have been a direct connection.
Right.
So it's easy and obvious that you would be able to get a search warrant to follow up on those leads.
Sure.
Yeah.
There was something that led them to believe that Ron Logan's property, and by property I mean his real property, his home, his outbuildings, not just the land, the raw land, was somehow either involved or had some evidentiary information in it. We don't know. You know that subpoena, that search warrant, to me was boilerplate. I mean, all of that stuff is pretty normal stuff. Looking for edge weapons, guns. They're basically asking for everything. But what caught my eye was the agent, wrote in there where she had a little section where she could write a narrative to just put the judge over the edge to get them to sign it. She was saying that in her experience, they take souvenirs from these types of crimes, and she's absolutely right. They do. But what's souvenir? That tells me more so because we don't know how the girls were murdered yet. We don't know time of death, mode of death, means of death. We don't know any of that because asphyxiation could be a bag over the head, strangulation manually or with a cord or whatever. So we don't know any of that. None of that. We're assuming that there was an edged weapon involved. Well, now we got a gun in play, for sure. And we still don't know. We don't know at all how they were killed. So the closest clue we have is that search warrant for Ron Logan's property. We know that whoever did this took a souvenir, right? And we also know that one of the girls was missing an article or two of clothing. Now, is that from law enforcement? Do you know that they were missing clothing? Does anybody know that?
I don't rely on the chat, but it seems like that has come, that there was some clothing missing.
Yeah.
I thought so, but I would assume that I would kind of expect that maybe, depending on the motive or whatever. But I would expect that there's a likelihood that some sicko would maybe grab something,
And that happens frequently. It does. Even if you're not in law enforcement, you watch some of these like 48 Hours and investigation channels and stuff like that. They'll find when they finally get the person that did it, the main suspect, they'll find their little stash hidden somewhere of souvenirs that they took from the murders, or whatever crimes they were committing. Usually they're sexually charged crimes where they do something like that so they can relive it over and over and over. They're sick in the head, man. All right, so they searched Ron Logan's. They didn't find anything, right? Is that what we're led to believe, that they didn't find anything of evidentiary value at Ron Logan's?
I'd be pretty positive about that.
Okay, so
I would.
All right, so we're going to go with they didn't find anything good, right? Now, they did arrest him for VOP for DWLSR, which is driving while license suspended or revoked. I don't know what they call it in Indiana. We call it DWLSR. As a matter of fact, state of Florida now has with knowledge and without knowledge. So if you get pulled over and they say, hey, your license is suspended, and you say, yeah, I know, you get a worse sentence than if you say I didn't know. So we tell everybody, I didn't know. Tell them you didn't know. What's the matter with you? What are you, stupid? So he actually went to jail on that charge, right? Now, I've never seen him at um, the Klein's home. I've never seen the Kleins at his home. I've never seen them sitting together at a table during a wedding reception. I've never seen them together at the Piggly Wiggly. But I am confident as all get out that they are family friends. They know who each other are. And I'm talking about the Logans and the Kleins. They know each other. There's no doubt in my mind they know each other. And Richard Allen grew up in Mexico. Everybody keeps harping on that. Well, he's from Mexico. He's not even up from Peru. Well, if you live in Mexico, you're basically from Peru. You do everything in Peru. There's nothing in Mexico. You go to Peru for everything. They're like 7 miles apart or something like that. So to say that area that people don't know each other, they absolutely do know each other. The population is not that high, and the bar that Kegan was named after is in Logansport, Logansville. Do you know what town I'm talking about? It's between Peru and Delphi. I think it's Logansport.
Logansport, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's where the bar was that Kegan's named after. Is in Logansport, and Ron Logan used to go there, and um, Tony Klein used to go there. So you can't tell me they don't know each other. Okay, Logansport. So you can't Logan Land. So you can't tell me they didn't know each other. I won't believe you couldn't convince me that they don't know each other. I'm pretty positive that they're family friends and they've known each other for a long time. We all know that Tony's been on the property and around the property, hunting and fishing and the such, but he's also been to the house. You can't convince me otherwise. Just because of, and I'm not putting anything on Ron Logan. I don't want anybody to think that. But because of the proximity of the crime, right? The alibi that he asked for before the girls were even found, he asked his cousin to lie for him and give him an alibi for the time during which the crime was taking place. So it's hard for me to get past that to totally eliminate Ron Logan. I'm not saying he's bridge guy or anything like that. I'm just saying that I think that he's more involved than everybody thinks he is. All this, oh, well, he's an old guy, he can't get up and down. No, I'm not saying he carried the girls and murdered them and anything like that. I'm just saying this guy knew what was going on. Um, hard to make me believe that he wouldn't know what's going on his own property like that. So, and that's just, again, that's my opinion. We'll see at the end of the day when this all comes out. But I'm pretty sure that Ron Logan knew what was going on. He knew it happened. And all right, so let's get back to and I sidetracked off of that a little bit because we were talking about the search warrant for Ron Logan's property. So we don't know. We're leaning towards they didn't find anything major there, right? But we don't know that for sure. But
Well, yeah, but I would say I kind of sense two options or possibilities that I would say either they didn't find anything at all, or Ron turned witness, I would assume. So let's say if they found the chemical agents or anything directly evidentiary on his property, then because he likely had knowledge after the fact, I think maybe there's a possibility he could have decided to go ahead and turn and cooperate, and that's why he got off, out of the situation.
well, that's what and that's what I was trying to say, and that's where I keep getting hung up, dude. If this was like a trafficking in methamphetamine charge or something like that, or this was a VOP for DWLSR. Now he lost his license because of a DUI. He had already served his DUI time and he was on probation for DWLSR, which he got caught driving afterwards. So I can't. I have a hard time having a workaround on that because why would he snitch anybody out to gain a few months on a capital case like this? This is pretty big stuff. And if you go back to when it happened, okay, and when he was interviewed, I'm here to tell you, dude, you look like a total asshole if a couple days after the fact or a week after the fact, if you come clean and say, well, yeah, I knew this happened. Well, why the fuck didn't you tell anybody before? Why does it take this? So people don't tell. They don't give up that information. There's a lot involved with it. They don't want to turn their friends in. They don't want people pissed off at them. They don't want anybody thinking badly of them. There's a whole bunch of different situations. That's why I wish I could see the body cam footage of when they did the search, so I can see Ron Logan's body language and nonverbal communication and shit like that during the search, because they talk to him. They make him go away. He doesn't have to leave the property, but they make him go. Sometimes they make him sit on the couch or whatever. I never liked any of that kind of shit. But there'll be somebody talking to him the whole time, and they have a body camera. And the reason they do that, that's called a field investigation. Okay? So then when they talk to him later, the investigators can reference back to that body camera and the notes taken by the field deputy. And if there's any inconsistencies when they call him in to talk to him, that's where they start chipping away. You find one little inconsistency, and boom, they start hacking away. All right, Indy's saying that there was no hunting on the property. Okay, that's fine. I heard that people hunted on that property, and that Tony Klein hunted and fished on
Well,
that
maybe
property.
no. There may have been some poaching.
Well, that's
you know.
that's a pretty small
Yeah.
property to hunt on. I've always said that. I can't see people hunting on that, not with a rifle, anyways. Maybe bow hunting, but there's no way, and we'll all find out. I'm not here to argue with anybody or to switch anybody's opinion. I'm just telling you how I see things, and I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm around 90% that the Kleins and the Logans knew each other. They frequented the same places. They knew each other. You can't convince me otherwise. And at the end of all this, once we get through all of this crap, and at the end of the day, it'll all come out. And if I'm wrong, I'll say, okay, I apologize, I'm wrong. But my experience, my spidey sense is saying that they knew each other. So if you take Ron Logan's search warrant, right? We don't know if they found anything or what, if anything. And then we take the Kleins. Now, the Kleins, the big prize for them was those devices, correct?
Right. Right.
I mean, do you agree with that? I hate this. I don't want to lead you.
No, I would say I think well, I would say like this: if anything taken from the girls was found in Logan's house, he would have been done. Let's say one of the girls' underwear or something in one of his drawers upstairs or something. He
Mm-hmm.
would have been done.
Mm-hmm.
If Klein had that in his house, he would have been done.
Right.
So I think that we could pretty much assume that that didn't happen. And so what they did have was the social media evidence, So it seems to be what they've been following up on so far with Klein's.
Right. Right. Now, I mean, I forgot I can put the Are you watching this by any chance?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I just put up a one of the chats. I forgot, and you can do that in this StreamYard. Humanimal says ISP and FBI would know through phone records if Ron and Tony in contact, and yet nothing has happened to either of them related to Delphi or CSAM. All right, first of all, Humanimal, take your phone off of voice to text or learn how to spell. And I'm kidding. I'm joking, of course. Hey, James, how are you, buddy? Okay, and Humanimal, I mean, you can say what you want. Like I said, I'm not here to argue with anybody. and I'll never thwart you. But for you to say that, well, let's label it as wild speculation that Logan and Klein are connected. If you call that wild speculation, you don't know what you're talking about. That is not wild speculation. At worst, at worst, it's mild speculation. Those people from the same area, you can't convince me they didn't know each other. Oh, it's your trademark,
I would
you
say
man.
I would say it doesn't mean anything. The fact that if Ron knew Tony, it doesn't mean that Keegan Klein, in a bloodied rage and a fury, knifed the girls down on Ron's property. So I'm not connecting that.
No, me either.
A plus B doesn't equal C there. It's just
Me either.
kind of a side note that, yeah, they likely knew each other very well. I mean, rumor has it, but he also knew a lot of others very well. So
Right. Right. All right. So
I'm not
even
making
if
anything of it. Yeah, I'm just agreeing that with you.
yeah, I mean, just for argument's sake, we can take that. We can take that out. That I'm trying to break this down into what makes sense with what's going on, what's happening, and what has happened. Okay, so you can even take that out. If that bothers you, take it out. I don't care. So we have the Kleins search warrant. They wanted those devices, correct? So now, where was Keegan and Tony? They were in Vegas. They went to Vegas. While they were there, he was looking up DNA. How long does DNA last? Looking up the Delphi murders, stuff like that. Sketchy. In the business, we call all of that shit a clue. Okay, it doesn't matter what he says. Oh well, I was looking it up because everybody else looks it up. Whatever. No, no, no. And what do you mean by saying I'm fucked as soon as we walked in the door? What's that all about, Keegan? So, I mean, law enforcement knows all this already. They have the digital forensics. They already know if the Logans and the Kleins knew each other. They already know all of that. I'm just putting that out there because that's part of the thing. There you go, humanimal. Mild. But if they were after those devices, right? Where was that? I don't buy that they missed that one phone. I don't buy that at all. I mean, if I had to guess, my guess would be that Tony had it. That's why they didn't find it. Tony had that phone. Um, and just by the verbiage, like we said, Tony's the one that was talking to the girls most of the time. All this shit with, would you fuck an older guy? What about my dad?
Not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Not gonna happen.
Yeah. So you cannot convince me that that's not Tony Klein. You can't convince me. Even Keegan says
Tony Klein asking for himself. I know what it would be. That's
absolutely. And even Keegan's like, well, nobody else could get at those devices. And law enforcement says, well, we know two devices were logged onto the Anthony Shots account at the same time at your residence. And he's like, no, nobody else has access to that. Well, who else lives there? My father. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I agree. For Pitbulls, 6 years is enough time to expose the connections. But you guys have to understand, they don't have to expose them to us. They don't give a shit about us. Do you think they care about my shitty little podcast that's talking about what they're doing? No, they care about all the web sleuths and everybody else that's pissed off because law enforcement is not sharing information. No, they don't give two shits. At the end of the day, when you guys see what really happened and they can prove it, if it even makes it to court, because it's looking more and more like the chips are falling, the dominoes are falling as we speak. But once it's all out, then you'll see this shit is not rocket scientry. These are fucking perverts, man. He said scumbags, pieces of shit. You know, um, they're in way over their heads, way, way over their heads. And if you take any of this information and you look at it separately, you split it up into like 8 parts. Now I know a lot of you have been around since day one, and I do take that into effect. You guys have your finger on the pulse of what's been going on. But I've been around for a hot minute, and I've been around this kind of stuff and these kind of people, and I've dealt with them not only during investigations, during incarceration, for years. Dealt with these shitheads and listen to what they talk about while they're incarcerated. They're pieces of shit. They all gather together. They're all the little CSAM bums. They all talk to each other about the shit. But now Richard Allen, where does he come into play here, right? Because
Well,
he's like the
well,
main
well,
player now, isn't he?
well before that, I wanted to say, what strikes me is why would he turn in that last phone at all? If he got away with, say they came and executed the search warrant, they got everything they're going to get. So why, after the fact, do anything like that? You could have destroyed the phone, ditched it, kept it, wiped it. You could have many options for that phone. Why go bring it to law enforcement?
He
now,
did all that, though. He did all that. And I'll tell you why he did it, just because I understand these people. Because he was shitting his pants, Prof. He knows that they have digital data. He knows that they can pull up the IMEI and they'll be back.
They'll be back.
Yeah.
Well,
Once they sort
I know
shit
it
out,
also
they'll
goes
be
to
back.
what you said about the not too bright. You know,
Right. Right.
seems like a smarter criminal would have just destroyed that phone to smithereens. She would have Hillary Clintoned it.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
and
exactly. Exactly. But
why? So why? It's just like, how, dude? Are you? Come on, you're going to bring a phone after the fact? But yeah,
right.
but that's
Right.
all. Well, the other thing I wanted to say about Klein before moving on, I said in the other stream, but when we started having problems,
Technical difficulties.
I asked you, what do you think are the odds that we would obtain that witness list like we did recently that included all the unredacted version with all the names?
Compared to everything else they've been putting out, I'm surprised it wasn't redacted. But they
Well,
did
you know
that
what
for a reason. Yeah, there's a
I'm
reason.
thinking. I'm thinking that could have been done um, strategically so that it would be pressure on Keegan, knowing that, oh shit, Dad's on the witness list now.
That's right.
So maybe it's putting Keegan in a corner to say, look, if you're ever gonna rat, now's the time, bud.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you look, after they did that search warrant on Keegan, we all know they found CSAM. Okay. And they didn't arrest him. We don't know exactly why. I have my own theories, but once they did arrest him, then the clock starts ticking. They got to stop putting pressure on him. Okay. There's a reason that they moved him out of PC, protective custody, and put him in isolation. There's a reason they did that. Um, they just these pedos share information and they brag about their shit and they turn into better pedos in prison. They're in protective custody because of their charge, and so they're all together and they're safe. They're not getting their ass kicked by these other inmates that would love to kick their ass because they have kids and nieces and nephews and stuff like that. Nobody likes child molesters. Nobody does. Outside, inside. So they put him in isolation. Now, why is that? Why would they do that all of a sudden? Take him out of protective custody and put him in by himself, and he's been isolated ever since. And that's do you know when they put him in isolation?
What's Wasn't it after when he left for a number of times to go talk to the feds?
It was right after the Wabash search and right before the Richard Allen search warrant.
Right. So maybe it's part of a. See, I think maybe Keegan's cooperation has been in levels. I would assume that maybe at first, when he's first incarcerated, he talks a little. He gives him a little, and then maybe he gives him a little under pressure with the Wabash as a result of that leaking. And then maybe now he's given a little more, or maybe he the most, So I'm sort of tying those three different levels of possible, levels of his cooperation.
And
I'm here to tell you, reward is what I'm getting at. That maybe that protective custody now is after the Wabash was a reward of sorts. To say, look, okay, now we're gonna you've turned witness partially, and so now we're gonna upgrade your living a little.
No, he didn't want that. Wasn't an upgrade. He didn't want to be moved out of there. Are you kidding me? He had buddies in there. Remember when we were talking to Noe? He had a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever you want to call it. They were giving each other back rubs and titty twisters and pulling hairs out of their necks and all that shit. No, he doesn't. He hates being alone. That's part of the deal to isolate him, so that he doesn't say anything else. I don't know why. I don't know what tactic they're using, why these other players haven't been arrested yet. But I'm here to tell you, the day of the murders, he was at his device was at Travis Trexler's house, logged on to the Wi-Fi and looking up child porn. How do you get around that? And this is what I'm saying by these people are dumb. They're idiots. They think just by keeping their mouth shut that they're good to go. Any normal person is like, all right, you got me. Fuck. I can't get around that. I mean, that's evidence that I can't. Yes, my phone was there. I can't get around that. But no, they think I don't know. They think that works. That's what's taken so long, because these people, that whole family, the whole Klein family, has the collective IQ of a stick. They're not very intelligent people to start with, but they are almost loyal to a fault. They don't want to tell on each other. So that's to me, that speaks volumes. Okay, so we've got him. They already know. They've got all this digital forensics about everything that they've been saying and doing on all of those devices. They know what happened between those devices and Libby's phone. Now, people are harping on, and I just want to touch on this briefly about, well, she factory reset her phone. It does not matter, man. Everything goes to the freaking cloud. Everything is stored. Everything is there. You can factory reset your phone. If law enforcement wants to pull information out of it, they're still going to be able to. It's there. When it comes from the factory, when it's brand new, when it's virgin, there's no information in it. But once you put that information in it, if you think that you can get rid of it, where you can't get any of that information, you're wrong. The footprint is there. The actual data may not be there, but the footprint is definitely there. So now I've heard some people say that he gave her money in a cash account to get a burner phone. Now why? What sense would that make? To what end, do you think?
Well, I don't know if I trust that 100%.
Okay. So what about resetting her phone? Do you think that had something to do with Anthony Shots? Has anybody verified that yet, whether or not she actually did?
Well, the story is that Kelsey reset the phone for Becky and Libby. So I don't know. I mean, I don't really have an opinion on. I agree with you that that's just user error because it's well known by those who know that there's no such thing as deleting data once it's gone through the internet. Um, so it wouldn't have mattered except to show that it was done, but that didn't do anything to affect the case.
Yeah, I don't believe it has any impact on it whatsoever. Once they found her phone and they were able to do it at the phone dump and pull that information off, they knew who she was talking to, when and where. And what data was transferred back and forth, over the airways. They have all of that. Now they're not going to share that with everybody, and I'm sure they probably won't because some of it, I'm sure, does not shed good light on the victims as well. I mean, you got to think these guys are predatory for these girls for a reason. They're getting something in return, so nobody wants to see that or hear about that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's all kinds of excuses for resetting the phone and alleged scenarios, but I would say she might have been directed to ask someone to reset the phone, or she might have been knowing she was guilty for participating in some racy photos and text. I don't know, but I don't think it matters because it's findable by law enforcement, especially with the scale of the team on this case. So I think that I think it's a non-issue, really, other than if it was done if it was done to hide something, then that would sort of have a nefarious aspect that might come into play if Keegan was demanding that she do that for some reason, and or anyone on Anthony Shots was demanding she reset the phone. That might show extra motive, when it comes to the prosecution or something.
Well, I mean, we may find out. I mean, we may never find out everything, depending on what Keegan does. But I'm sure at some point, somebody's gonna spill the beans on this because people want to know. I mean, this has been a long investigation, and people want to know why. And I'm sure law enforcement is going to have a reason for it. I know that people give me shit because I'm retired LE and I stick up for LE and all that stuff. I'm just here to tell you that people that go straight and default right to, oh, LE's corrupt or they're all dumb fucks. It's impossible. It's impossible. I worked with a lot of corrupt people and a lot of dumb fucks, but it's not everyone. And it would have to be every single person in the friggin' department has to be a dumb fuck for anything that some of these people say. Well, that's because they're incompetent. No, they can't all be incompetent. What the hell's the matter with you? You use your pumpkin. They're not all incompetent. I mean, how many times have you worked around incompetent people? But it's not everybody, is it? Ever?
No, I think you could have a couple, but it's not gonna. I mean, I think right now it's bigger than any one or two in a local jurisdiction.
Now it's a small county, it's a small town, it's a small area. So I'm sure that they're not well versed as New York City police are on this stuff, but there's just no way for all of them to be corrupt. But okay, so we're bouncing around a little bit, but let's just continue doing that because whatever's interesting we can hit on real quick. I think that Tony Klein being on that witness list had a huge impact on Keegan's decision. A huge impact. Tony testifying can do two things: either sell Keegan up the river, or implicate himself. And which one do you think he's going to do?
Well, I think even better is that for Keegan's mentality, it doesn't even matter because if he's holding if he's holding back to protect Dad, well, then he's looking at this and he's saying, well, Dad's either going to tell the truth or lie. So either Dad's going to send me down the river, or Dad's going to implicate himself. So now his own conscious it can come around and say, look, maybe now I can at least tell a little about Dad, maybe, because either way, Dad's either going to throw me under the bus, or he's going to throw himself under the bus. So maybe I don't have to protect Dad as hard. So maybe he has been bending since then. I just think it's odd that we would get that with all of those witnesses' names, which puts them all at risk. I mean, it's like, why that? And we couldn't even get the probable cause affidavit with names. So.
And why is that reporter on there? Because she interviewed him at the jail.
Yeah, and I enjoyed her interview with him at the jail, because to me it showed his character or lack thereof. Yeah. When he was hitting on Barbara McDonald, I just thought,
dude,
you gotta be kidding me, dude.
He's a fucking chimp.
You gotta be kidding me. She's not taking you serious.
Fucker looks like an orangutan. But, orangutans are much more intelligent. But, and just to touch back base to explain to you my thought process with this housing arrangement, he's in solitary confinement. That's because they want to lock him down. They don't want any other inmates or anybody else influencing him. The only people that he's talking about that he knows anything about what's going on is his attorneys and the investigators. Period. End of story. So he's not having any other inmates saying, oh, fuck that, I talked to my mom. And you know what I mean? That none of that's happening. They have control over what he hears and gets information about. Now, if you take Keegan Kline, right, and you follow his path of infamy, he gets arrested. And they pressure him. Next you know, they start really pulling him out every day and talking to him. Well, then they take him on a field trip to Grissom Air Force Base. And ISP actually signed him out for the day. So he goes on a little overnight field trip, camping trip type thing. Now, I'm here to tell you, and they do it all day, every day. There's millions of them doing it as we speak. These inmates can snitch right from their fucking cell. They don't need to leave the facility and go to the fucking Wabash River to snitch. They can do it right where they at. The only people they pull out and take anywhere are these people that are showing them where bodies are. That they will do. But he was coming back every day talking about, oh man, I got McDonald's, I got Jack in the Box. It's how stupid he is. His whole world is crashing around him, and he's worried about fucking French fries and a Big Mac. Just tells you what kind of people we're dealing with here. But they're so fucking dumb, and I've seen it over and over and over. It's hard to get anything out of them. They're so dumb. They don't understand basic questions. And he is sexting people from jail on his little chirp machine. He can't stop doing it, Prof. He cannot help himself. He's sick. It's how his mind thinks. It's never going to stop until he gets help, and he's got to stay in therapy. He can't just get, I'm healed. Jesus saved me, and no, he's got to stay with it. Okay, so I digress. Let's back up a little bit. So they're searching the Wabash, right? And you cannot convince me ever that did not have anything to do with Keegan Kline and the Delphi case. Because as soon as they finish the Wabash search, Keegan Kline goes back to his fucking cell, put into solitary confinement, and Richard Allen's ass is on the radar. That's not a coincidence. Can't be, can it?
No, I'm 100% with you on that. So far, we're 100 for 100.
I have a tinfoil hat ready just for when you stray off the path.
We're pretty much on the straight and narrow right now. I'll tell you that much.
Okay. So if you boil it all down, right? Ellie gets onto the Anthony Shots account from Libby's phone. They find out that Anthony Schatz is indeed our young friend, Kagan Klein. They go and search his house. Now they find out that he's making some iffy moves just after the murder. Now they ask you right away when they're looking for help, hey, if is anybody you know left the area or changed their appearance or their mood has changed, blah blah blah. Man, they left the area toot sweet, and nobody's been able to nail down if this was a planned trip or they just hauled ass for no reason. So I can't even say there's not a Las Vegas connection in this. Okay, and I hope that nobody in this chat or you, Prof, believes for one hot second that Keegan Klein found that fucking phone in a taxi in Las Vegas. I hope nobody believes that shit. If you do, I have a bridge for sale. And get in touch with me and we'll work a deal out. I'll give you a good deal on it.
No, you got to smoke and crack or worse to believe that. That's
in my opinion, yes, I agree.
Total bullshit.
No, I agree. So how much shit has to happen until people finally say, ah, okay. You know, if people just get off, the fucking police are corrupt and they don't know what they're doing and they're fucking assholes, they can be all of that and still come up with the same thing that I'm coming up with because it's there, guys. It's there. It's right in front of our face. This evidence leads you, if you just follow the evidence, it's like a stepping stone. You follow the evidence and you're going to get to the end. You're going to get to the end of it. We don't know. You have to know the who, what, where, when, how, and why. Okay? And you don't even have to prove all of that for reasonable doubt. But, you know, it helps. It helps to have all of it. But, you know, you don't have to have every little piece. And you may never have it. Never have it. I mean, people don't need a reason to do some things that they do. Um, Idiots like this just do it because, well, they were going for a pizza and they saw these two girls and they decided to do something that day. That's the way these people think. They're morons, you know. They don't need a motive. The motive can be, well, it's 2 o'clock, I'm bored, let's go out. Let's see if we can catfish a couple girls. That's what they do. That's what they do. They're fucking assholes. There's no boogeyman. None of that. It's like I said in the beginning of the other one. I don't believe in the dark arts, you know, or mystical creatures, or that people can levitate. None of that. This shit's all cut and dry. These are fucking shit bags, pieces of shit, and I've never meant anything more in my life. I would love to stand in front of them and tell them what a piece of shit that they are, because I've dealt with big bad motherfuckers, serial killers and all that, and they're all nothing. They're nobody. They're nobody at all. They're pieces of shit. And unfortunately, they ended these two beautiful little girls' lives for nothing, for their kicks. Pieces of shit. And when this all comes out at the end, and I think when all's said and done, at the end of the day, it's going to show that Keegan and his dad have been catfishing these girls, and it just wasn't enough for him. And not just these girls, all these other girls. I think the ski mask guy comes into play. What do you think about that, Prof?
Well, it seems to be tied to Keegan.
Somehow. Now, what's gross is he was catfishing that girl who came home from school, told Anthony Schatz, why don't you come by, we'll hook up, nobody's home. If she had known that was Keegan Klein the whole time, he was a family friend. He'd been to that house many times. He may have been going to the bathroom and catfishing her, sending her these nasty texts while she's sitting in the living room texting back. And she had no idea it was Keegan. But he already knew her address. So why did she need to give him the address? You know what I mean? He already knew. He could have done something beforehand.
Because maybe it wasn't him, it's someone else with access.
Correct. Hey, check this out. This hot chick is going to be doing this and this. You don't believe me? Go buy the house, and you'll see. Dude, I'm telling you, they're all a bunch of fucking shitbags. Shitbags. And the conservation officer, Honeybee was just mentioning that too. I'm telling you, who is this person? Who is a conservation officer? In 2019, when they come out, and Doug Carter said, if anybody knows who the vehicle owner was that was parked at the CPS building between the times of A and B, I'm not, I can't quote him. Please call us and get to us. Now, if Rick Allen was innocent and he had talked to this conservation officer and told him that he was parked there, he would have came forward at that point and say, "Hey, remember me? I told this conservation officer." And if nothing else, the conservation officer would have stepped up and said, "Hey, I talked to a guy. You think he's going to forget that?" It's a conservation officer, for Christ's sake. He's worried about if you got an undersized bass. He doesn't have a whole shitload of law enforcement stuff flying around in his fucking head. He's not investigating 20 incidences. So, why didn't that come out? I believe that that's all just a backstory to protect the fact that Keegan is rolling, okay? To keep whoever else is involved at bay, make it look like that, oh, we fucked up. Now, they said the FBI did it, right? That the FBI, they filed it in the wrong place. One of their civilian people filed it in the wrong place. Well, the FBI the very next day put out a thing and said, fuck no, we didn't.
They didn't say, yeah, they said bullshit. So.
That cracks me up. That cracks me up. So, and ISPs don't, hey, roll with it. We need you to eat this one, But they just, people don't understand how law enforcement works. They think that they can just lie about anything. They cannot. They're coy. They're smart. They're a lot smarter than we are. A lot smarter than we are. They get us in a room and they'll make us tell on our damn self. They use the read technique. They use the piece technique. They use anything that they can. But they cannot just bold-faced lie because they'll lose the case. They'll lose the case. The judge will throw all that evidence out. You can confess. And if they got their confession by telling you that they had you on CCTV doing it when they indeed did not, guess what? All that evidence is out the window. They can't do that, guys. They're not allowed to. They cannot do that. Now, they can be coy, and I've given several examples of that, how to trick people, but they can't just flat out do that. And trust me, they can tell by your body language, nonverbal communication, what you're saying, what you're doing, what you're texting, all of that. They put all that together. They know what you're up to. And I'm telling you, they don't need to lie. They don't need to lie. And I can see that Mr. Steve's in here, and he can collaborate that for me. They don't need to lie at all, and they won't. They don't want to lose a case over something stupid like lying to a piece of shit to get them to admit to something that you're going to be able to prove down the road anyways. Now, what do you think, Prof, when it comes down to the Wabash search? Take it from there. What do you think happened there?
Well, I mean, I'm wild speculation. I think that they rolled old Mr. Klein on his field trip right to that location that he told them to go to. And he got out of the vehicle, led to the edge of the railing of the bridge, and he pointed exactly where he threw the phone or whatever it was. And he said, I just threw it like right here. And then they put his big ass back in the back seat of the car and rolled him on back and locked him back up.
Okay. Now, why do you think that was important? What do you think that they found that they were looking for? Now, obviously, something digital, right? I don't think it was a murder weapon.
I'm wildly speculating it was a phone, possibly the phone that Richard Allen was using when he went out to that location.
Okay. Now, why would it be in the Wabash? Do you think that Keegan threw it there?
Yeah, I think he probably retrieved it from Richard at a later date. Okay. And then eventually the heat was on, and the best thing he knew to do is to go and ditch it in that river. And in his infantile mind, he probably would think getting wet would destroy everything on it. and also no one would ever find it.
Right. Right.
But I mean, it could be any piece of evidence, but I'm sure they found something, and the logic to me says it must have been a phone that could tie back to Richard Allen by IP address. So if Richard got on Wi-Fi on that phone at his house or anywhere at work, wherever, then that would be a recording of the interaction with the device. Now they can tie Richard's name into the picture. You know,
And
or
Danger
even
Dave.
if they knew the name, maybe they could have. Maybe it would have just been a further weight to the evidence necessary. Maybe they already had Richard's name. Maybe they only knew Rick, or they could have had an idea of a name, but they needed that IP address to physically tie him to being on that phone somehow. I don't know.
I have a
All
theory
of
on it. But Danger Dave makes a good point. They didn't just search the river; they searched on land too. There was and this person's a little obscure YouTuber. He was a gentleman that lived in that area, and he went out there with his drone, and he took some photos and drone footage of them searching and stuff like that. Dude, they cut out not just the trees and brush, all vegetation on either side of that bridge, about 150 yards up from the water's edge on both sides. And to me, they did that about as far as you could throw something from a moving vehicle. That's what they used to gauge it, I believe, anyways. Now, if Keegan Klein, all this time, if Keegan Klein's been holding back saying, and this is just a made up name, I don't want anybody, nailing me down to this, but, well, this guy is Mr. Bean. That's all I know. He was involved. His name's Mr. Bean. I'm not sure. Mr. Bean, Mr. Bean. But, I did. Uh, Now, they had the IMEI number to another device, and they want to know where it was. So they pressured this kid, pressured him until he said he tossed it. And as a matter of fact, if you find that, you'll find Mr. Bean on there. And then they were able to track the IP address or what have you and get back to Richard Allen being there that day. Track that device to the trail. Do you follow me? That day. And since Richard Allen was there you go. There you have it. They put two and two together. Now, we don't know what he said. He's had some excellent lawyering, as has Keegan Klein. He's had some damn good attorney work done for him. He's in the best possible position for his situation that he could be in, because he's screwed, dude. He's screwed. He's done. Stick a fork in him. But he's put himself in the best possible position, so he's going to be able to plead out on this CSAM stuff. And I've been saying this for the past couple days, but I'll say it again just for anybody's benefit that hasn't been around and heard my big ass Boston mouth. I've seen people second and third offense of the same shit that Keegan's in trouble for walk with time served or probation, have to register as a sex offender, house arrest. It costs less money for them to be at home than it does in the jail. And they're also paying their probation. So if financially it makes a lot of sense to cut these non-violent offenders, even though they're repulsive, it just makes sense to cut them loose. Hi, Lynn. Actually, you're from Lynn. So am I. I grew up in Charlestown, Boston, but graduated high school in Lynn, Mass. But if if Keegan has a brain in his head, he'll just start rolling right now. Now's the time to do it, because they're going to give deals to the first couple people. But he may, by pleading out in this CSAM, which he's definitely doing because he's rolling, then he may get he may get out, be able to wiggle out. If he was not physically involved with Delphi, he may get immunity. may get immunity. What do you think about that?
Well, that's tough for me because I don't think. I mean, I don't know. Forgiving Richard Allen, I don't know. No, I could see him getting away with maybe time served and probation for all the CSAM, but I don't know if he has ties into a crime that involves these two girls being dead. I would. I don't know. He'd have to get. I just don't see. He'd have to give up everyone, I would assume, or anyone else involved directly in the murder, which I don't believe he was, but he could have been. But but I was thinking making coffee yesterday. I think I really don't. I think I've let go of it with him because I think if these others can be charged and prosecuted successfully, then I'm willing to give up Keegan. I mean, and like someone in the chat said, he's never changing. He's going to continue to be a predator, but they'll be able to keep a closer eye on him. But I'd be okay. I'd be able to accept that that would be a deal with the devil.
Yeah.
I'm cool with it.
The way things are looking to me, with everything rolled up, okay, the way things are looking right now, and it's going to be interesting to see how well this weathers, But here's the way I see it. Keegan was catfishing these girls, had a Dropbox, sharing it with other people. It got, pretty popular. His dad was also involved with catfishing these girls, but it got to the point where he wanted more. And they may have talked to somebody that wanted more. I'm not talking a snuff film, but I'm talking maybe somebody that, wanted them to record it or what have you. But anyways, at any rate, I think that they met Richard Allen through the local CSAM ring. Okay, didn't know who he was by name, probably, but I think that Richard Allen was bridge guy. He took the girls off the bridge down to where they were. The crime scene was where Tony Klein was waiting. I think Keegan Klein was in a vehicle in the cemetery waiting, and I think Ron Logan knew about the whole fucking thing. That's what I think. That's my opinion. That's what is. That's what comes floating. It comes right to the top for me. It floats right to the top, and I'd be willing to bet I'm not wrong. I may be misguided a little bit on some of the facts, but I think that that's pretty much what happened, if you ask me. So, teachers hardly. I'm hardly a teacher. That's that won't fly anywhere. Now, hey, what's up, Frank? Welcome back. I finally went to StreamYard, Frank. StreamYard. Couldn't handle it. Now, Prof, what about the drug angle? You and I have talked about that. Do you still think that some of that's tied into this?
Well, I think this is where, we've been 100 for 100 so far, right up to this point. And I think this is where I can see two. I see the path diverging into these two options. And if what you said is correct, then we're still 100 for 100, because I think that's the way it would go down. That there would be someone waiting down on that private drive under the bridge, and the goal would have been to get them right in that vehicle and out of there. And the girls ran instead, and then were murdered as a result of the situation going bad. So that's that one stream, the left-hand stream. But I think I can also see a point right there where it could be a different scenario, and I guess for that reason, then it involves Klein and Allen in a different way.
Right.
They're still involved. This is what I was telling some of the Discord members. Either way, the same individuals are involved. It's just a scenario playing out might be different. And so what I'm leaning towards for many reasons now is that I believe that although this scenario you've laid out makes the simplest logical sense and everything seems to be pointing that way, I still understand that we don't have everything. We only have the tip of the iceberg. And so I give it the possibility that, I'm leaning towards, yes, there's still these individuals involved, but what it could have been is that there could have been a drug angle, so that right at this point where we get to the scene or we get to the girls being dropped off, and the whole scenario is different. So,
Right.
I'm leaning that way now.
Right. Well, Humanimal thinks that my theory is way too complicated. Way too.
So Humanimal should hear mine.
I mean, I haven't mentioned aliens, Bigfoot, none of that yet. But listen, if you guys don't know True Crime Web, Steve, he is awesome. When I want to feel like I'm back at work, talking shop, I go watch Steve. Steve's awesome. He's done everything there is to do in law enforcement, and I envy his level-headedness. And his wife, Mrs. Steve, is very nice as well. If you guys are not subscribed to him, you need to go subscribe to him. He's top notch. He's a good guy. He's helped me out a lot.
Yes, hi, Steve. Lots of respect for you, Steve.
Yes, absolutely.
Thanks for being here.
I haven't found anybody that doesn't respect Steve. I certainly do. Steve and I have talked on the phone a little bit. Actually, there's a gentleman that was in his chat that claimed that, well, just put it this way, he want to whack me, I guess. I wish he would. Do me a favor, man. I would love it. I'm one of the few people that, I cherish that kind of stuff. Come on. Swing by the house. I'm always here. I'm retired. You're going to die of lead poisoning. But swing on by. But if what I say is true, if we just take what Keegan has done to this point, why haven't they arrested Tony? I can't get by that. I still believe he's up to his asshole in this, and it's going to come out that he is. But why haven't they arrested him yet? If nothing else, they'd be afraid that he would kill himself. I don't get that part. What do you think? You're awful quiet today,
I don't know.
dude.
I got no answer for that one. No assumptions, or I don't know. I think that it would go the same for if there's others, if there are others that are known, why aren't they also arrested? Now, if they're unknown, well, that makes sense. But if they're knowns, there must be a reason they're not gathered up yet. But
well, we'll know soon. And like I said before, if you think Ellie's losing 1 second of sleep over not telling us what's going on, you're wrong. They have to do what they do, and they have to keep shit close to their hip. And all of this, well, they have to tell us. It's the First Amendment. No, bullshit. Go away. Fuck off. They don't have to tell you anything. Grow up. Put it that way. They're doing their job, and you're not part of their job. You're not part of their plan. They don't need you to testify. They don't need my opinion. They don't need anybody's opinion. They're doing their job. This has taken a long time, and it is a little awkward. to say the least, to be a retired law enforcement and try and explain why it's taken this long. But it, it, it's a crazy case. And we'll find out at the end of the day. I mean, they're going to be talking about this one 20 years from now in colleges and criminal justice courses. They'll be talking about this one. Well, that's all I have for right now. We tried this couple times today, so I got kind of worn out trying to figure this shit out. But, Prof, next time we're going to have to talk about something that you're really into so you can take over. I hate doing all the talking all the time. I like listening to you talk. You're a lot smarter than I am.
Nope.
you,
Well, I'm into this. I guess this is just this other group of characters, that does so on the drug angle. It's not for no reason. I think that the original, there's been two sort of branches of a drug angle that that I see, and one is where it's really out there that this was some retribution against Derek German, as for a debt owed for drugs or something, and I really don't. I don't swallow that. But,
yeah, there's drugs tied in somewhere down the line with the family tree, but it appears that that's just that area. Now, Four Pitbulls is very familiar with that area, and he probably knows. Hey, Purdue, I didn't even see you in there. He probably knows some of the players in this, to be honest with you. And yeah, see, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. And you guys, Steve has done it all. So he said, I have cases I will always regret my failures to bring to a closure. Because it happens, man. It happens. I mean, look at O.J. Simpson. Look at Casey Anthony. Give me a break, man. I found something out the other day about the Casey Anthony trial that I didn't know. When I was working in booking, we had Oscar Ray Bolin, serial killer, in that jail. And his attorney had a young lady that used to gather information and stuff like that. I don't know if she was a paralegal or what, but her name was Rosie. And she came to see him one time, and they asked, because attorney client privileges, to be put in an area where they couldn't be monitored, and there was some adult activity taking place that they were caught. Well, she ended up marrying him, and after he was executed, she went on to work for the team on the Casey Anthony case. I had no idea about that. It's crazy, isn't it?
yeah.
Try and keep your enthusiasm down a notch. Will you, Prof? I'm not telling any more stories today. Every time I tell a story, I pause. And nothing.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you're not impressed today, I guess.
I think it's my coffee kicked in when we were struggling with the getting the stream started.
Yeah, the technical
maybe
difficulties.
I'm on the down slope of the coffee.
Yeah.
No, like well, I think this is close to, I have a lot of confidence that it's close to resolution. But that lends into the theory that I have that there are these others that are already also turning.
Right.
So I don't think it's only Klein and Allen. I think maybe got a couple others talking too now, and that's why they're very close.
Right.
But that's just, that's where I'm leaning.
Okay.
And I think that if it wasn't option A, where the girls were lured, and then these three individuals, were there at the location or had involvement directly in what happened, then it definitely had to be a result of a drug, uh, sort of a drug involved scenario that the girls stumbled into, and then all hell breaks loose and they end up dead, and that would include others. But I also think if it's just Alan and the Kleins, there's also at least one other, from what I gather from that linkage. So it's not gonna just be Alan and the Kleins, even if it's the simplest catfishing scenario. That it's gonna be at least another or more. And if it's a group that are involved in some illicit activity that the girls stumble into, it's also going to involve others.
Right.
So like I've been saying in the Discord, I kind of keep coming back to, I don't really care as much about the theory or the scenario as the individuals, and sort of this group of individuals all comes into play in either one. So I think it's secondary. I think that the group of individuals seems to be pretty clear. I mean, it's not all from official law enforcement sources, but it's the central group, and then the others, the few others. I think I understand some of the others, and so. And whatever the situation was, I think they were all involved, and I think they're pretty much all incarcerated except for Tony Klein. So if they're all pretty much incarcerated and also talking, I think they've all been. See, with Alan, you're right, the good lawyers, but I think that with Alan, where he probably really messed up was when he was first arrested, when they were serving the search warrant, and then when he was arrested later. He didn't have representation, and he might have talked then.
Yeah.
Before he got lawyered up. So.
Now I seen the video that Four Pitbulls is talking about. Nick's demeanor in the council meeting R&M put out is truly scary. Yeah, I've got a few things for that. A, that didn't just happen. That didn't just happen at all. That was over a month ago. And B, during these council meetings, they do not play ominous music in the background. That was added for dramatic effect. That shit happens all the time, where they have these city council meetings talking about budget and money. Did you see the names of the people on that council? Take a look at that, okay? And you want to see something scary and bullshit? Get a hold of the one where they're voting for their own raise. Okay, that's the scary bullshit stuff. Nick asking for $5,000 or $10,000 is nothing. That's nothing. So that's all somebody making a video that has an agenda, that's trying to steer people in one direction. And for Pitbulls, you are exactly what they're looking for. They've accomplished exactly what they're trying to accomplish. Those meetings happen all the time. So,
I'm seeing something in the chat. Is James says, in my opinion, the crime scene was staged to look like a serial killer. I think I'm pretty confident on that, James, that it was definitely staged to look like something it wasn't. And but Ruckus and I guess part of where my option B would go is that the bodies were moved, not just staged. So if it was simple as the girls running across the creek and getting killed right where they lay, yeah, that would fall into the scenario with them being catfished out there. But if they stumbled onto a bad situation and got killed, I would then assume that they were moved and placed where they were found, and then in conjunction with staging to try to divert the authorities. But
yeah, we don't know yet, and that came from Ives. Okay, and we're talking about a guy who's a prosecutor who quits and then tells people about the crime scene. That's a bunch of bullshit. I know everybody in law enforcement in that area is pissed off at him for that. That was a bunch of bullshit to quit and then put that information out. I don't believe half of it. I don't believe half of it. And I think Nick's going to do a good job. They should have brought in help by now. Probably a special prosecutor would have been pertinent, but that's he can do it on his own. He's fine. He's just trying to keep up with everything else and do that. And that woman that
And
stood up in
Steve,
that council meeting saying, if I stay after 5, then I stay after 5. Well, you're an idiot. They're not paying you after 5. Why'd you stand up and say that? What is wrong with you? You brown noser. Get out of here. you know. But all right, I'm going to wind it down, Prof.
oh yeah, I was just going to address Steve. It says it's a tough terrain. I agree, but I think that there could have been a mode of travel, like one of Ron's horses or a 4-wheeler, maybe floated in the water. I think it could have been. I think they could have been moved. But
They
yeah.
could have.
So everyone in the chat, I would like to welcome you to join my Discord. We're gonna post it in the comments once this video posts, and in the Discord, a lot of cool people, and we're just sharing ideas and putting our heads together. And I like to look at it as a think tank and also a place to make jokes. But you're welcome to come in the Discord, and there's all kind of stuff we do, and that's primarily where I do a lot of communicating. And thank you.
Yeah, he has
Thanks,
some
Ruckus.
great watch parties and stuff. There's a lot you can do in Discord. Screen share, watch parties. You can have 5, 6 people voice chatting at the same time. Discord's pretty cool. It is pretty cool. I have one. It's not as good as the profs though. I go over there and harass him whenever I get bored. But all right, guys,
Yeah.
I appreciate you hanging in there. I know we had some technical difficulties. OBS was acting up, and I really appreciate everybody coming out. I have the I'll put his Discord in at the end of this. When I can't shut this down, I'll put it in there so you can see it, and we'll take it from there. But you guys have a great day. I appreciate you coming out. I know it's a Saturday. You guys are busy, got family things going on. I just want to come on and talk with Prof. Prof's awesome to hang out with. We don't agree on one thing, but we're good friends somehow. I got a GED. He's got a PhD. I don't know how we can even talk to each other. But, but you guys all have a good day. Thanks for coming out, and please like, share, and subscribe. It helps me out a lot. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.